Salute, family. Tank Commander Zulu back at it again, here with the Real Man Movement. Once again, salute to all the subscribers, to all those who watch the videos, to all those who give it a thumbs up, and to those who leave a comment. It is greatly appreciated here at the Real Man Movement. And if you're not a subscriber, I suggest that you subscribe to the channel. By you subscribing, it helps the channel gain more visibility, and the message can be related to more people. Once again, I salute you here at the Real Man Movement. Today, I want to talk about mental toughness. Mental toughness and what it means to be mentally tough for a real man. Let's get ready to talk about it and discuss it. Fire in the hole, y'all. Tank Commander Zulu, let's get to it.
Supplemental exercises that help you on the bench. And this is one of them. Real chest development. Squeeze that chest. Squeeze it. Stretch. Squeeze. Squeeze that chest. Stretch it. Squeeze it. If you do it enough, then you'll be able to do this. See that, boy? You'll be able to do that there, boy.
Mental toughness. Mental toughness is something that every real man should have. Your physical toughness or your physical stature with time greatly deteriorates. But there's something about mental toughness. I'm talking about that going beyond, being able to go beyond places that other people would normally stop at. I mean, to be mentally tough, to be sound in what you know you can do, even though the task may be large, it may be strong, and it may be scary. But when you face that task as a real man who is mentally tough, you're not concerned about how big or how scary that task is. You're not concerned about how big or scary that person is. Why? Because you are mentally tough.
Leg work. After you come out the squat rack. Can't ignore the squat rack and mess with this. You gotta be in the squat rack, then get this. For that real development, real strength. This is how you become hard. This is how you become strong. You don't need no pills. You don't need no steroids. You need a strong mind that creates a strong body. And a will and a determination not to quit. Not to be defeated. Real man movement, baby. Be in it.
Now, since I deal with a lot of fighters and I deal with a lot of people who are into sports and into developing their minds and bodies physically, spiritually, mentally, because I deal with a lot of these people, I run into a lot of people who are physically, very physically strong. And just by looking at them sometimes, you would think that they were capable of handling strong opposition. But in a lot of cases, they lack that mental toughness. The mental toughness is what takes you to another level. Being mentally tough and sound will make you overcome obstacles you thought you couldn't overcome. In many cases, history has shown us that when the person who is mentally tough. Faces a person who is physically tough. And I'm talking about in combat here. Combat situation. Whether it's boxing, wrestling, MMA, whatever it may be. Your mental toughness is so important to attaining victory that when you look at it with just your eyes, it looks almost like an impossible feat. But when you're mentally tough, that feat really isn't impossible for you, because it's something you know about yourself deep down inside. You know that you can defeat whatever's in front of you. Now I'm speaking from a physical aspect right now, but we're going to make this connect to everything that we face in life as real men. A real man is not afraid of the appearance of another man. Just not. You shouldn't be. It doesn't make a difference how many muscles that person has. Doesn't make a difference how much they bench press or whatever you want to squat or whatever it may be. When you face a task against another individual, you don't look at none of that. If you are mentally tough and sound in who you are, then if the task is in front of you, your mission is to conquer that task by all means and not be afraid. In other words, you mentally sound in what you know you can do. Talking about the real upper chest, upper body development after coming off the bench. Can't leave the bench press out, cannot leave the flat bench out. Talking about strength, natural strength, and development. Squeeze the things at the top. Real man movement. How important is it to be mentally sound and mentally tough in knowing what you can accomplish? Well, it's the difference of being just a male and being a real man. As a real man, whatever task is in front of you, whether it's physical, social, or whatever it may be, you have to be mentally tough enough to face it and know, even before you go into the fight or the challenge, that you can defeat it. Why? Because you've been mentally tough before. You've been mentally tough in the past. You've already been to that place mentally, and you've defeated that situation. Well, it's the same thing. When you meet a new challenge that is tough, that is hard, if you are mentally sound and mentally strong, you don't get afraid. You operate and you perform off of what you already know. There's a story in the Bible, in 1 Samuel chapter 17. And this story is about a young man named David, who later on became king of Israel. He was a little fellow. He wasn't big in stature. He wasn't even trained in combat. If anything, he was just a field hand. He wasn't as big and strong as his brothers. Or he wasn't as big and strong as some of those soldiers who were training in combat. But he was selected by God to do a big task. You see, Israel at the time was in war with the Philistines. The Philistines had a great champion named Goliath. Goliath was big. He was strong. I mean, he was intimidating. And he was just crunching and crushing up the Israel soldiers that were placed in front of him. The Philistine king got so encouraged about Goliath that the Israel king at that time, whose name was Saul, he issued a challenge to the Israel king that if anyone can defeat my champion, who is Goliath. Well, we'll concede this war and we'll give you the victory. King Saul looked everywhere within his army, but no one had the wherewithal or the mental toughness to face Goliath. They were afraid of what they saw. He was huge. The Bible gives a description of him being just like a giant to an average person. So it put fear in the hearts of the Israeli soldiers. They were afraid. Now, this young boy named David, in trusting God through everything, he had encountered instances where he had defeated a lion and a bear. And he was confident in who he was when he was brought into combat against Goliath. Because how the story goes, and I'm paraphrasing this, he was selected actually by God. He was brought before King Saul as a soldier. Wasn't experienced, but he was brought before him. And when Goliath was carrying on about how scared the Israel soldiers were, guess what that little shepherd boy, that little inexperienced young man who was confident in himself and was mentally tough, guess what he said? He said, I'll go fight him. I'll be the one to go fight him. And the Bible says not only did he ask to go fight him with confidence, he ran to the battle. In other words, he ran towards Goliath with no fear. Why? Because he was mentally tough. And the way the story goes, we know that he defeated Goliath with a stone and a slingshot. But he had enough confidence in himself, and he was mentally tough enough not to be afraid of Goliath, but to be certain and reassured of what he already knew about himself. What is it that you already know about yourself? How many times that you've been able to conquer something that you didn't think you can conquer? Everyone has, at one time or another, been able to do something we didn't think we were going to be able to do, at no matter what level it may be. But just like that little shepherd boy David, you were confident enough to believe in what you already knew about yourself. That's what being mentally tough is. The only way you can get there, just like David. Remember, before he went into war against Goliath, the Bible says he already defeated a lion and a bear. In other words, he had confrontations that were scary that he didn't think he would even survive. I can relate to that. Because being in 3 combat zones, I've been in situations where I thought that I was not going to survive, that there was no chance of me surviving. But when I came out of my first firefight as a tanker, when I came out of it, I couldn't believe that I was still alive. When I went into my second, third, and fourth firefight as a M1A1 tanker, I was more confident. I knew what I can do. I knew that I have defeated scary situations before. And now that I'm challenged with another scary situation, I'm going into the battle confident now. You see, it was different than when I was in my first combat zone, my first firefight. I was scared. I was scared senseless. But I had to dig down and react. When my second and third and fourth came, I was confident in what I knew. Listen, there was a little apprehension, of course, every time you go into battle. But I was not nowhere near as shaken or afraid as I was in my first combat. You see, that's how you become mentally tough. You have to face scary situations. You have to be a man. Whether it's a physical challenge or it's a social challenge.
Hey, this is how you finish up the legs. After you come off the squat rack, keep the blood flowing, you get down to it with leg extensions. Like this. There you go. Nothing crazy. Just keeping the blood flowing in them thighs. The real work is in the squat rack. This is the touch-ups.
Some of the things that life throw at us as men are scary, but we have to face them as real men. And here at the Real Man Movement, we are making real men. We support real men. We have no support for men who are feminine. And listen, I'm gonna say this freely. Not only am I a combat veteran, but I'm a combat veteran who sustained injuries in combat. So I bled for this country. I bled for the right to say this. Be a real man. Stop being a feminine individual. If God made you to be a man, be a man. That's what's wrong with this society today. That's what's wrong with the generation that's coming behind us today. There's a lack of real men here. Men who are not mentally tough. Be mentally tough. Be mentally sound. Stop being afraid of everything. Stop going along with everything. Stand up and say, this is not right. This is not right for a real man to be this way. And if we do it based off the experiences that we've had, and we're mentally tough enough, then our message will resonate with the generations behind us. And even with the brothers that are lost today, in this generation that I'm in. Come out of this trance. You gotta be a real man. Be mentally tough. Whatever assignment life throws in front of you, don't be afraid of it. Be a man. Regardless of what the situation may be, and you don't have the things you don't have, be a man. Use the example of David in the Bible. That little shepherd boy wasn't experienced in combat. But the biggest challenge in combat, he ran to it. Why? Because he knew something about himself that nobody else knew. Nobody else knew that he had faced a lion and defeated him. Nobody else knew he had faced a bear and defeated him. In other words, he didn't go around saying, look what I've done. Look what I've done, to make people think a certain way about him. He took those experiences and kept them inside, but it made him mentally tough. He knew what he can do. You have to know what you can do. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna share this with y'all, with the family. I'm gonna show you something right here. And if you're a combat veteran that's been to Bosnia, I was in Operation Joint Endeavor. As you see the hat here, I wear this hat. It kind of has a special meaning to me. Not only the hat, but this card here. If you see this identification card, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put this in front of the camera. This was the I-4 forces that were in Bosnia. 1-1 Cav. That's who I was attached to. We were the first ones to go over into Bosnia. And we were called the I-4. And I still carry this card. See how old and matted it is? Let me tell you why. Listen, look, this is the back. This is authentic. I carry this card today. And this was when I was a sergeant. I was an E5 at that time. I carry that card today because in Bosnia, in Operation Joint Endeavor, I lost a good friend there to landmines. It really shook me. Not only the fact that he died, but the way he died. I mean, we were standing all there at one moment, and in the next moment, boom, a landmine just cooks off. This man was killed. 1 minute, we were laughing. The next minute, it was chaos. That's another combat experience I've had that made me mentally tough. It's an experience that I had to deal with. Being that I was on the scene, there were many reports that had to be written up. There were many actions that had to be taken. And I'm still trying to digest the fact that I've lost a good friend. I mean, we were right there laughing at 1 second. And another minute or two later, he's dead. And I was asked when I was being interviewed about the incident, how am I feeling? And you know what I first said? I can't feel nothing right now. I was asked, was I still able to stay in the ZOS? And at that time, the ZOS was the zone of separation. That's where I was. I said, yeah, I could stay. But I was still tormented about what took place with Doogie, a good friend of mine. But I became mentally tough. I had to face that task. And I carry this card today. You can see good. And it expired in 97, but the death happened in 94. That's just the expiration date on there. You can see. If you can't see, see the back of this thing? This is authentic. Anybody who's been to combat, who was in operation, if you were in Operation Joint Endeavor, you have this. You had it. And you know the deaths that took place. But those experiences came to make us mentally tough, mentally sound. And as a real man, whether you've been to combat or not, it's important that you be mentally tough. Never let a task appear too big for you, that you run from it. Never let being a man and the things that come with being a man, the responsibilities, be too scary that you are afraid of them. You can conquer it. We've all conquered something, one time or another, that may have brought fear to us, that may have brought doubt to our minds. But remember, as a real man, you are designed to face tough tasks. Don't be weak-minded and give in to trends. Don't be weak-minded as a man and give in to the feminization of men here in America and abroad. Be a man in whatever you do. Win, lose, or draw. Be a man and be mentally tough and sound. That's all I have today here at the Real Man Movement. Thank you for rocking with the Tank Commander Zulu. And once again, I ask that you subscribe to the channel, that you like the videos and share the videos. And remember, let's be like David. 1 Samuel 17, the Bible tells us that David ran to the battle. He wasn't afraid of it. Let's run to the battle as real men. And remember, your spirit, mind, and body all must be strong. And fear no man but God, baby. No man but God. Tank Commander Zulu signing out.